All right, and welcome to another edition of Let Freedom Ring. My guest tonight is my brother, Mike Beaulieu. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This isn't the first time I've been on the show. We did a roundtable discussion in DC a few weeks ago before all this crazy stuff happened, and that was the lowest rated show I think you've done so far. So bold
Well,
strategy having you back on, but listen, we're gonna do our best to make this a good one.
it was called Let Freedom Continue to Ring. So, that is like our, it's like our Sunday night heat
Yeah,
of Let
maybe we
Freedom
threw
Ring.
people off. Maybe we threw people off. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you're watching this right now, go back and check it out. It's worth it. Trust me.
Yeah, and we were much happier then. But all right, Mike. So for the viewers of Let Freedom Ring, we want to kind of get to know you just a little bit because we definitely did not do an intro on you during that show.
Right.
Mike, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So, I was born in Malden, Massachusetts. I spent very little time there. I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire. So I was there from, 1 to 27. So then I moved down to Massachusetts. So I lived in Watertown for a while, and now I live in Waltham, Massachusetts. So kicking around here. I work over in Boston, so I take commuter rail in. Um, so yeah, that's where I am now. Don't consider myself a Massachusetts person yet. Still consider myself a New Hampshire person. But what can you do? Kind of stuck here for now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you on that. I'm New Hampshire all the way. Um, Now, what's one thing that everybody should know about you?
Man, that's a tough question. There's a lot of cool things about me. I'm not gonna lie. I think if someone needs to know one thing about me, it's probably that there's four of us Beaulieu's in the family, but I'm probably the best. If anyone needs to know that, if you're hanging out with Dan, Bobby, Tim, best is yet to come when you meet me or hang out with me. So that's one thing everyone should know about me.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. And what does it mean to you to be American? Sticking with the theme of the show.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually really appreciate that you asked about that question. I think everyone's answer is going to be different. I think
Yep.
there's a lot of different political parties. There's a lot of different ideologies in this country, but what it all comes down to is we all are American. I think that gets lost in translation every now and then. So I do appreciate that question. It's a good question. I think I think that we're in a time where it's a good example of what it means to be American, right? Because what's important about being American, what we hold most dear, is we're free. And I think that gets defended every day by our military, but sometimes you have to defend it on in the home front. And when people said, when we were told you have to stay home because this coronavirus thing is taking over, some people kind of said, well, I'm American. I'm free. No one's going to tell me that I can't go outside and I can't do this and that. But part of being American is that freedom isn't given; it's earned, and we need to do what we need to do to protect it. And part of protecting it is doing your part and staying home. So I think everyone's staying home and listening to what the CDC has to say is being American right now. I think protecting that freedom is what it means to me.
I like that answer. I like that answer. And a big thing too is, we all got to come together in this situation.
That's
Obviously,
right. Yep.
you know.
Absolutely. It's tough. It's kind of one of those things where you have to put your political beliefs aside and you have to say that, we need to protect the United States of America right now. And what that means is for us to staying home and it's doing our part. And it might not seem like much. Staying in your house might seem boring. It might not seem like you're doing anything. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's what we need to do to protect that freedom that we're always talking about. Because like I said, being American is great, but it's a privilege. It's a right, but it's also a privilege. So we need to protect that.
All right, all right, good answer. All right. Well, that kind of sort of brings us into current events. There's really only one to really discuss.
All right.
How has COVID-19 changed your life as you see day to day?
Yeah, it's changed my life a lot, I'll say. I'm in quarantine. This is my 23rd day in quarantine, which it's a lot. So
Thinking about the same at this point. Yeah.
yeah. So after 3 weeks, you kind of start to get not a little bored, we start to go a little crazy. Like, God, I'm going to be able to leave my house again. But again, we're protecting that freedom. But it's changed a lot for me because I'm immunocompromised. So when they talk about the statistics, the people who are getting sick are old, immunocompromised. I fall into that category. So it's changed my life because I really can't leave the house beyond walking the dog. I could, but I put myself at risk. Luckily, I have someone who's willing to do that for me. Um, the other side of that is that my life has changed because my significant other, my soon-to-be bride, works in the medical field, and she's been testing coronavirus patients the last couple of weeks. So that's scary. That's scary for multiple reasons. One being because I'm afraid that she's going to get it. I'm afraid she's going to be exposed, and then she'll get sick. And that's the last thing in the world I want. They do a very good job of protecting themselves. They wear masks, they wear gloves, they wear smocks, they wear everything you can. But I'm worried about her getting it. The second thing we have to worry about is her coming home and giving it to me. So we have a strategy for that. We're following the CDC's instructions to the letter. When she comes home, of course, she work for the day, goes straight to the wash. She jumps in the shower. We don't touch. She doesn't touch the dog. She doesn't touch anything. I open the door for her so she doesn't have to touch that. And then I kind of follow her with the spray after that to make sure everything's so it's been tough. It's been tough. And the other side of that is we're not only doing that when she comes home, we're social distancing 24/7. So we're staying 6 feet apart at all times. I'm in the guest room right now. That's where she allows me to keep these pops behind me. But we're social distancing 24/7. We sleep in separate rooms. We kind of hang out 6 feet apart when we're on the couch. Luckily, we have a big enough couch where we're sitting on the same couch, but we're on opposite sides of the room. So it's changed our sort of way of life a lot, which is unfortunate. But we're doing what we need to do, and like I said, that's a big part of everyone's got to do their part right now.
No, I agree with that a lot. Yeah, I know that you definitely, it's a tough situation when you do have when you are compromised and your significant other works in the medical field, and there's a lot of people dealing with that right now, and that needs to be something that each of us need to appreciate them doing what they're doing, and it's not just them, it's their loved ones as well.
Absolutely.
So
and the thing is, while it's tough, while I understand that our daily lives have changed a lot and it's made a lot of adjustments for us, I couldn't be more proud of the work that she's doing. She holds her head high in the way she handles herself. She's a consummate professional is what I always say. But very proud of the work she's doing. I'm very impressed with our medical staff across the country, and they haven't blinked. They're on the line of duty, and it's kind of weird. It's almost like they're in the military right now. It's like they're putting themselves at risk. They're doing these things every day that not all of us can do. It's very impressive. So hats off to everyone, not just Alicia, but to everyone who's in the medical field right now is doing their part.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that very much. Do you have any concerns with China? It's kind of coming out that they weren't totally honest with the numbers. Do we really know what we're in for at this point? I'm not trying to rip China right now or anything like that, but is that concerning that we don't quite know where this could lead?
It is concerning. I don't think they've been totally truthful about their numbers. I think maybe maybe more people got sick than they said. Maybe more people died than they said. It's hard to tell. They kind of, for them, because it started there, they kind of set the tone for how we handle this, and for how serious we took it. So if they lied about the numbers and we didn't take the proper precautions because we said, well, in China it was this, I take issue with that, and I see that as a problem. But I'm not going to call it the Chinese virus. I'm not going to call it anything like that because I think we just have so many issues in this country that it could lead to other things. But I think as the place where it started, China had a responsibility to let us know the severity of the situation. So I hope they were truthful, but if they weren't, I take issue with that, absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't really want to call it the Chinese virus because we have some stupid people in this country that have already been attacking Asian Americans, and it's totally uncalled for. It doesn't matter what race you are. If you're a United States citizen, we're not attacking our own. And that's a big reason why we're not. Well, I don't believe in saying that too.
Yeah.
You can be truthful of where it came from, but it's the coronavirus. It's COVID-19. That's what it is. Big ups to Bob Kraft, though.
Yeah.
He flew to China and got
Yep.
what, 1 million masks?
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know total number, but that was pretty cool.
That was very cool, and it was cool to see. He didn't just. It wasn't just a New England thing. He also was able to provide supplies to New York too. He has ties there. He went to college there, so I thought that was pretty impressive. That was a classy move, and I think that we're at a point where we need people like that to step up. People who have deep pockets or can make things happen. just people to step up right now. It's kind of, we're in this as a country, and again, going back to the coronavirus, we're kind of in this as a planet as well. So,
Yeah.
we could play the blame game, we could do all that, but at the end of the day, people are dying, and that's not what we want. So, Kraft got those from China. So, if they're gonna do their part to help us, and we can do our part. How many things happen in the world that we all kind of agree that we need to address? Very little. I mean, this is something that's affecting just about every country in the world right now, that we're kind of all on the same page. We need to just nip this in the bud. So I appreciate the Crafts. I appreciate the people who got the mask to the United States, everyone involved. But that was an amazing move by a guy who has done some great things, some bad things, but he's also done some great things too.
His bad things weren't the worst things ever.
Yeah, not the
I mean,
worst.
they weren't ethical, but
Depends who you ask.
but we'll move into pop culture. And Mike, I will be honest, your video isn't as clear as I'd like it to be. I'm not sure why it keeps kind of going in and out. So just be aware of that. Technical difficulties in this new world.
You do.
You know? Yeah. But let's go into pop culture, and let's have a little more fun, because like I said on other shows, the coronavirus is such a bummer, and I don't want people to watch these and just be bummed out, because we need an escape somewhere. You know what I mean? And we've all had a big escape. I think everybody in the country has been watching, and they've been all talking about it. The Tiger King.
The Tiger King. Yes, absolutely.
Joe Exotic.
I loved it. Wow. What a roller coaster that whole documentary is. It's insane.
Yeah. You recommended it to me. Others had brought it up, but I honestly thought at the end, I was like, was that a mockumentary? Was that real?
It really does. Yeah. There's so much going on in that. You think, like, these are not real people. They can't be real. There's just way too much weird stuff that happens. And, too many people who love tigers to the point where they want to keep them in their backyard. And I just don't understand that. They're amazing animals, but God, you got to understand the danger of them. And I thought he had said something interesting at the end. He had said that having kept these animals in captivity for so long, did he do them a disservice? Did he take a life away from them that they could have had elsewhere, either not necessarily in the wild because he bred them, but in a bigger zoo or in a sanctuary or something? And I think that's kind of the message that gets lost as you go, because there's so much there's so much into it. There's a backstab. I mean, there's a murder, or the attempted murder. There's all this crazy stuff. What gets lost is that those animals were really trapped in cages for their entire lives. So I think that's kind of the message that kind of fell apart. But I was glad they kind of brought it together at the end when he asked that question. He's like, did I do that? Did I do something wrong? Because I think he did a lot of things wrong. Minus his country music, he did a lot of things wrong. So I'm glad he owned up to that.
His songs weren't bad, but actually what you're referring to, he had said before he really got that deep into it. So I feel like he turned into like, what did Two-Face say in Batman? Either die a hero, live long enough to see yourself be the villain.
Right. Yep.
I mean, Joe Exotic obviously is a crazy individual, but sounds like he wanted to start off doing good and then ended up doing a lot of bad.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's you start doing something good and you think you're doing good, and then the corruption kind of takes over, and then you're making money from it, and then you're this sort of celebrity figure to a lot of people. I think he kind of got lost in translation there, and I think he became kind of a caricature of what he set out to be. He kind of just became I can't believe this guy is real. You know what I mean? But I think that's what he was going for.
He was something Danny McBride would play.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then you got Carol.
Carol Baskin. She's done it.
She's a murderer. She's got to be. That makes no sense.
I don't trust her at all. I think she's weird too. Everyone in that there's really no good guy in that documentary. It's just like, who's less weird than the others? There's just too many question marks around how her husband disappeared. Did she have anything to do with that? I don't know. That's not for me to say. But some suspect stuff there, and everything she did was suspect. I don't know. I don't trust her. So if you have any issues going on right now, Carol Baskin done did it.
She had the crazy eyes, though. As
Yeah,
someone that's dated, I've dated a lot of women in my life, and I'm not saying anything about women or anything like that. I know the crazy eyes when I see them.
got
She
him.
had them.
Yeah.
She had them.
Hey, all you crazy cats and kittens out there, like no one says that. No one says that.
You know, like where is this guy? No one, we've had people disappear, but the thing is that she declared him dead as soon as she could.
Yeah,
She doesn't show much emotion about it.
doesn't seem to care at all.
Um, we've both had friends or family that have lost their significant other in different circumstances, and they showed a lot more emotion than she showed about losing her husband.
Yeah, and she took that money, and her her late husband's first wife and her daughters don't trust her one bit.
No,
I wonder how much of that isn't covered in the documentary. What do they know that we don't, that they didn't talk about? Where she ended up with all the fortune, and they're sort of kind of making it day by day. So there's a lot
I
of
think
questions. Carol Baskin, I don't know if I trust her
yeah,
necessarily. I don't know if
she,
I
she
trust anyone that.
she got like the kids got like 10%. Now I can understand that the ex-wife not liking her at all, because let's be honest, I don't think that guy was a good dude either. He
No,
clearly left his wife for a younger woman, you
and he
know.
picked her up on the side of the road, and she said no, and he came back, and she said no, and he came back. He's like, yeah, she was
Yeah.
coming too. Yeah, I don't trust
Now
him.
you
The
never
thing
want
is,
to. Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is, in my mind, that when you start talking about did Joe Exotic hire this guy to kill her? I mean, all throughout the episode, they're saying this guy doesn't listen to a thing Joe says. Joe's calling him, he's complaining to Jeff about him, and this guy won't do anything for him. And all of a sudden, he's going to commit a murder for him. So either Jeff planted that seed on some level, or Joe Exotic is the stupidest person on earth. And you never get the answer to that question throughout the entire episode. It could be both. I don't know, but
I think it's somewhere in the
the
middle.
guy doesn't listen to him at all.
Yeah. I think Jeff, that guy's a scumbag. I think they set him up.
I think
They're all they're all scumbags. The only person I didn't find to be a scumbag was the person that lost their arm. That woman seemed to be,
yeah,
she was loyal
she
and she
was.
came right back to work.
Good.
But these people are just out of their flipping minds.
Yeah.
All of them. His husbands, they're all out of their minds.
Yeah, I don't know how they end up in the positions that they were in. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And then the woman who had her arm ripped off, I felt so bad for her because
Yeah.
it almost seemed like they didn't care, and her coming back was about an image and not about her.
Yeah.
And she was kind of made to believe that was the case, that she should come back. And you need time off for a cold, let alone getting your arm ripped off. So I don't know. If someone encouraged her to come back and said you need to do this because the media is going to be on it, then I take issue with that too. I think there's just a lot of people doing a lot of wrong things. It seems like throughout the documentary, they're sort of presented with right and wrong, and they almost always choose wrong, and I don't understand it. But I keep watching and say like, hey, at least I'm not one of these people. You know what I mean? It's like it could be worse. I could be someone in Tiger King. So everything's good. 14 doesn't seem so bad.
Last point on the whole thing too was that woman lost her arm, and the thing he says is, this is going to cripple me financially.
That's all he cares about, right? Yeah.
You can already see that he's going down a road of, he doesn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
But
I don't think his husband's either. When his husband passed away, spoilers, sorry for anyone. His husband passed away. He was married within months. So I don't care about that guy either. I don't know. I don't think any of that was necessarily love. I think he was keeping them kind of tied to him in some way. But the first husband had an out. He took it. Second husband, met an unfortunate end, but then he was married again very soon after that. So I don't trust him. I don't think he was a very good person. And I think whatever mistakes he made obviously caught up with him, and he's serving that time now.
Yeah, and the weirder thing too was those two guys weren't gay.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. And they say they said it was meth, that they were hooked on meth, and he was giving them meth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really speak to that. I don't think someone.
The whole thing's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's worth watching to anybody that's, especially when you're locked up, not locked up, but cooped up, I should say. Um, I'm glad I watched it. I'll probably watch it again. It's a little bit crazy. The characters are hard to believe, but they're real. So
Anyone who hasn't seen it, I can recommend it 100%. If anything, it'll kill a few hours for you. But yeah, it's just a lot of twists and turns, and what seems like this innocent story about some tigers in captivity just takes a lot of twists and turns. And I recommend it to anyone who's bored in quarantine.
and you know what it reminded me of? Grizzly Man, Timothy Treadwell.
It did. Just a delusional guy who thinks he's best friends with the dangerous animal.
Yeah. This is something I'll push on the show too. If you haven't seen Grizzly Man, it came out in about 2005. This guy lived with grizzlies for 12 years. They finally ate him. He just kept. But anyways, it reminded me a lot of that. I recommend Grizzly Man if you got time to watch it. It's in my collection. It's an unbelievable documentary that you just really can't believe.
It's another one of those things where you say, I can't believe this person is real. So
Yeah.
worth checking out.
All right. Well, that brings us to the next subject in pop culture. This weekend is WrestleMania. We were there last year. And it was an unbelievable time.
Yeah.
This year, obviously, COVID-19 has ruined WrestleMania a little bit, but they're trying to deliver us something unique. They're going to be at the Performance Center. I think it's already taped. I am looking forward to it. We don't have a lot to look forward to right now. We have no sports. But with that being said, what are some of your all-time favorite WrestleManias?
So the first one I can remember watching is WrestleMania 10. I remember Owen versus Brett to kick off the match. That was an amazing match.
Yes,
I remember rooting for Owen because he was this younger brother who was in the shadow of his older brother, and he just wanted to get out of it. And I related to that in some ways. I was kind of young, but I related to that, and I thought, Owen had the best music ever, and I really didn't have much to base. I didn't know what a heel or face was at the time, so I just kind of based it off like, all right, I like his music. He's the youngest brother. He has a problem with his older brother. Like, I get it. So I loved that. I thought that match was amazing. I thought anytime Brett and Owen got into the ring, whether with each other or with anybody, they just they put on the show. Another Bret Hart moment, WrestleMania 13, where he beat Stone Cold Steve Austin in the I Quit match. Still my all-time favorite match. They just actually went through that match on the WWE Network with Steve Austin and Bret Hart, where they kind of talked through it. And it just puts it all into perspective. I mean, it's a great match. Everyone who's anyone was a Stone Cold guy at that point. They just needed, okay, how do we make him the guy, and how do we make Bret a heel, and how do we make Austin the babyface, and where do we go from here? And he couldn't tap. He was the rattlesnake. He couldn't tap because that would take away everything that he's ever said. So he passes out from the blood loss, and there's so much behind that story where Vince McMahon said absolutely no blood. And Bret Hart said, we got to have blood if this is going to work. If you're going to pass out, you got to be bleeding. So Bret Hart did the cut for him. And you if you watch the match back, they kind of go to the outside and they go to the railing and you see it. If you didn't know what you're looking for, you probably wouldn't, but they kind of called it out. So when I went back and watched the match after watching the documentary, I was like, there it is. That's when it happened. Craziest thing, too. And I think
side note, that's probably my second favorite WrestleMania match ever.
That's a great match, yeah. And I thought Bret Hart was a genius when he was explaining. He said, this is, and what I always liked about Bret was that his matches were real. Owen and Bret, that match was like, all right, this is a younger brother who wants to get out of the shadow of the older brother, and they're going to fight, and they're going to, come to an agreement here. And there's some realness to that. People have brothers. They understand that you brawl, and that's kind of how it happens. We did it when we were kids. So, and then you go to the Austin match, and he says, all right, Bret's the cool kid at the school. And he's the one who's got everything going from he's the captain of the quarterback. He's the quarterback, captain of the football team. And then comes this guy who's he's from a different school, and he's the cool guy, and he doesn't like sports, but he's kind of a badass, and all the ladies like him. And that's Steve Austin. And what they had was a schoolyard fight. And when he put that in that perspective, I said, wow. And that's because there's so much realness to that match. That's what you love about it. And then if I'm being selfish, the last part was probably WrestleMania 27, The Miz versus John Cena. And I hadn't been watching wrestling for a long time since then. And I was watching with a couple people, and I put a bet down. We were betting on the matches, and I said, okay, I'll bet you $5 that The Miz wins this match. everyone calls me crazy. And they said, "There's no way John Cena doesn't lose at WrestleMania."
He
And
didn't.
by hook or by crook, right? So Miz wins the match, and I won the bet. And I've been a fan ever since. That's actually the moment that I became a big fan of Miz. So that was a great. That was a great. I think that's one of those WrestleManias too. You look at it at the time, you say, all right, maybe it wasn't the best, but then you go back and look at the card, and you have CM Punk versus Randy Orton. You have Undertaker versus Triple H. You have Cody Rhodes versus Rey Mysterio. The Rock's on the card. It's a stacked card that you really don't appreciate until you remove
There's
it.
there's a big thing you're missing. It was Edge's last match, but we didn't know it was going to
That's
be
right.
Edge's last
So
match.
Del Rio for the world title opened up the
Yeah.
show, and that was his last match ever. So, was supposed to be his last match ever. He's back now for a little bit, but yeah, that was a stacked card, and I think it was underappreciated at the time. But when you look back at it, it holds up.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think I drove up to UNH to watch with you guys that WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were all pretty big Miz fans. I agree with that list. I think you're right. WrestleMania 10 was a lot of fun, and it started off because when we were young kids. I honestly didn't think Owen would beat Brett. So when he did, I was like, whoa! It threw me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 35 and 29, I was at both of those, so like they hold somewhere. But I would say WrestleMania 25, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels was my favorite. Is my favorite match.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 19 was amazing. That was Austin's last match.
Yeah.
Hogan versus Vince, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. 17, Austin and The Rock. They just bought WCW.
Anytime they got together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's my wild card because a lot of people hate this one, but I loved it. WrestleMania 9, when Hogan, it was Brett versus, and Hogan unexpectedly won the title.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Didn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, it was kind of cool. As a kid, you love that. You want to see Hulk Hogan win. I was a Bret Hart guy back in the day. I kind of remember Bret more than Hogan in that babyface role. For me, Hulk Hogan's really the NWO guy. I mean, obviously, I was old enough to remember him as the red and yellow, but I think Bret just resonated with me more for whatever reason. But that was an interesting match. And when you kind of go back and look at it, it doesn't really make sense on the card. So I was listening to Bruce Pritchard, who was one of the head writers of WWE for years and years. He was one of the writers on that show, and he'd been asked why Hogan, why would you do that? Why would you take it off Brett? This is kind of his coronation, so to speak, and then he loses and just gives the match to Hogan. It doesn't make a lot of sense on paper, but they were going overseas. And they wanted to sell more tickets, and they thought with Hogan having the
better
tickets, Hogan wants his belt on the way out. He won't drop it to Brett. He wants to drop it to Yokozuna, someone who is believable to beat him, which I think Brett is believable to beat him. But they kind of made a business decision there, and it's something that you wouldn't necessarily see them making a decision like that now. Just because they make so much money, they don't need to really cash in on a European tour. It's kind of, as long as everyone's on the card, they'll make it. They'll make the money. But for them, Hogan as champ is what through. So that's what they did. And I don't necessarily agree with it, even all these years later. But yeah, what a Matt classic Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez was.
Giant Gonzalez. I also think WWF at the time bowed down to Hogan because he had left for almost like a year. And it was almost like they would do anything to get him back. But I think I agree with you on this kind of when we started watching, like Bret Hart was the guy. Most people in their 30s at this point, like I loved Hulk Hogan because he was like the first guy that was like the big time him and Ultimate Warrior. But most people in their 30s, Bret Hart was your champion. That was your favorite wrestler. He carried it when Hogan left. So
I love him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
I agree.
It's tough because you look at, for Vince McMahon, right? He built this amazing empire, and he had WrestleMania, and that all started with Hulk Hogan. And if you'd asked him when he was alive, which he had to do with many of his characters, if you'd asked Stan Lee to kill Spider-Man, Iron Man, it's a tough choice to make to go with the next guy. You know what I mean? You spent all your time building this heroic character that you put all this work into, and eventually people stop buying into it, and you got to make a change. It's not easy to make. So I get where Vince McMahon had his sort of concerns there. I think he did eventually pull the trigger, which was good, but then he burned Brett not too many years later, and went with Shawn. Shawn kind of burned him, and then he had Austin for a few years. He had The Rock. So he's had a lot of the guys, but Hulk Hogan was his first, and I think that was tough for him to let go.
Yeah, it sounds like the only one he just never butted heads with is Cena. And I don't think he really butted heads with The Rock. The Rock was bigger than life at one point, but like Cena and as the number one guy, is probably the one guy not really to butt heads with Vince McMahon.
Yeah, and it's because Cena didn't have the ego. Cena wasn't sure he belonged there. They have a great special on there right now about the ruthless aggression era. And if you listen to Cena when he talks about when he first had that moment with Kurt Angle, where he kind of kicked off the ruthless aggression era. A lot of people
That's a
call
good
that
episode, yeah.
it's a great episode. He talks about that as a failure, saying that sort of Vince McMahon gave him the keys to the kingdom and he just couldn't carry it. But then when he found that rap character where he was this doctor of thugonomics, which was discovered by Stephanie McMahon, just listening to him rapping back
on planes, right?
Yeah, so pretty cool. But I think when he got the keys to the kingdom the second time, he wasn't going to let it go. So he did everything he needed to do to keep that spot. And I gotta say, Cena's probably the greatest of all time at this point, in my opinion.
Well, the difference between John Cena and a Hulk Hogan, and I don't know these guys personally, but John Cena seems like a good human being. He's made more Make-A-Wishes than anybody. And Hogan always was just me. Yeah. So I'd be fine with saying Cena's ahead of Hogan because Hogan's kind of a dirtbag.
Well, that's the thing, right? When I say John Cena's the greatest of all time, I mean the Make-A-Wish stuff. I mean the world championships. I mean the putting guys over, the starting the next generation. I mean, who hasn't seen it put over at this point? A lot of people have given him a hard time about not putting people over, but I don't think that's the case. And I don't necessarily think that's the case for Hogan either. I think he put over a lot of people. I think he put over Warrior. He put over Sting. He's a.
Well, did he put over Sting?
Well, in a way, it was kind of a faulty thing. But at the end of the day, Sting walked away with the win. So, it's tough because I think Hulk Hogan put people over, but he always protected his character, who Hulk Hogan was. And I think John Cena more protected the business. So, that's one man's opinion. So if I'm saying my greatest of all time, I'm probably going with John Cena.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. At this stage in the game, I probably would have put Cena over Hogan, which is hard. Well, that's a tough thing because Hogan really put wrestling on the map. That's a debate.
It's tough because
we could have for a long time.
Who drew more money? Probably Hogan. Who did more for the business? Maybe Cena. I don't know. Maybe Austin. I mean, there's a lot of people in that conversation where you kind of have to. It's all opinion. I don't think we'll ever definitively say who's the best.
Well, the thing that Austin has is he was the biggest draw in the hottest time that wrestling ever had.
Yeah.
So I think those three guys are on the Rushmore of wrestling, but then it gets weird because you can't really leave out Flair. Yeah. And you have this desire to put on The Rock as well.
Yeah, it's tough because The Rock pretty much happened. They overlapped. I'm one of those guys that I love Steve Austin. Of course I did. Everyone did. But when it came to Rock versus Austin, I was always a Rock guy. I always liked The Rock more than Steve Austin. And I don't really know why. I just, for whatever reason, I was a big Rock fan. And, I wasn't really watching wrestling when Stone Cold sort of rode off in the sunset, as he likes to say. But I go back and watch that match, and I'm like, wow, that was a hell of a send-off. And when The Rock kind of takes the time to tell Austin what his career meant to him, and the refs kind of trying to pull him out, and he's pushing him away and keeps like having his moment. That's a WrestleMania moment. I mean, that's what you look for in this. And then he said, "You stay here. I'm leaving the ring." Because usually the winner is the one who sticks in the ring. He celebrates, up all that good stuff. But he left the ring so Austin could have it. And yeah, when you look back with that lens, it's like what a moment for WrestleMania and for both of those guys.
WrestleMania 19 was awesome. That was a great WrestleMania, and I recommend watching that if you have some downtime and you have the network.
Yeah.
But we'll take it into something else, a show that we both really love. Who were your top three? And I probably can guess this, but who are your top three Office characters? But you cannot count Michael Scott. You can't count Dwight. I'm just going to say Michael Scott and Dwight. You want to count Jim, that's fine. Your top three Office characters, taking those two off the table.
Okay, so Jim's not in my top three. I'll give you that. I like the Jim character, I guess, later, but not so much in the beginning. It's kind of annoying to me. So I will say Creed.
Yes.
I love Creed. He's so funny. His one-off jokes are hilarious. When he comes in and they're having the murder mystery game, he's covered in blood. And he's like, "There's a murder near the suspect." He's okay. Let me go put my stuff down. I'll be right back. And he just takes off and he doesn't come back. So his one-offs are hilarious. And his kind of I think he is the best sort of send-off at the end of The Office where he gets arrested. Yeah. He's this big criminal. So I'd say Creed. The next one is probably Kevin. I like Kevin because I think he evolves as a character a lot too. He unfortunately gets dumber as a character. He's a pretty competent accountant for the first 2 seasons, and then after that, he's not at all. He's the dumbest character on the show, but he's also kind of the most lovable. He's just that guy you kind of root for, but he's also some scheming too. Like when they play Dallas in the warehouse, and he steals the money before the game starts, and then they lose all the, they can't find the rule book and they can't find anything, and then he storms off and says, "I'm never playing you guys again," but he's got the money the whole time. So I think I like Kevin for that reason, just because he's just a different type of character, and like I said, his progression is he's dumb, but you gotta love him. And then my next favorite, I'll go two. I'll kind of place them together. Would be Ryan and Kelly.
Yes.
Because they're the most insane couple of all time. Ryan has a crazy story arc where he goes from the temp who is just like a rip-off Jim to now he's working with the CFO and he's an executive, and then he's back. He what happens, and then he's back at the bottom and he's kind of stays there. But him and Kelly the whole way, they're together, they're not, they're together, they're not, and they're kind of like they're not a will they won't they. It's like, please don't. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's different than you've ever seen in TV before that. It's not a will they won't they. It's like, I hope they don't. But they end up together in the end, and that's pretty great. But the two of them are also writers on the show. They're both very funny, both very close in real life. So those would be my top three.
No, I like that. I was very shocked at the end of season 3. And I remember being in college watching this, and Ryan becomes like the number 2 to David Wallace.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, what? And it was like a sneak thing they did. It was like the very end. I think the Ryan character is really interesting. He played all kinds of different roles as being in that show. No, I like all those examples. I like Stanley too, but I had to take Dwight and Michael out because there's no better character than Michael Scott.
No, he's the best character
for comedy reasons. Yeah,
all time. Absolutely.
He's the best. I go. My two favorite shows: Sopranos and The Office. But I never compare Michael Scott to Tony Soprano because there's one's comedy and one's serious.
So different.
And no one dominated the role of a comedic sitcom actor, in my opinion, because I'm sure people want to say Jerry Seinfeld, but Michael Scott is the GOAT.
Yeah, and I'll say hands down, Michael Scott's more funny than Jerry Seinfeld. I think Jerry Seinfeld was funny at the time, and the show is still great. I still watch Seinfeld actually, but
I think George Costanza was better than Jerry.
I think I was more of a Costanza guy, and I thought that some of Jerry's comedy is funny, but it's sort of left behind in the '90s. Whereas Michael Scott, no matter how much I watch it, is always funny. Like Prison Mike is the funniest. I mean, I've never laughed harder in my life with that. and the cold open where I guess it was a cold open because they kept to the story, but where Dwight starts the fire and
I
everyone's
never.
I've never laughed so hard in my life.
My
And
ribs hurt. I was laughing so hard the first time I saw that.
yeah.
And then it went into the roast of Michael Scott. Like that was like the longest episode ever. It was brilliant.
The funniest that was funniest not even episode, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen on TV. And
Yeah.
there's something The Office just has a way of you root for these people who are kind of terrible. Like Michael's terrible at his job, but you love him.
But like he's a sweetheart. He's really a sweetheart.
In over his head, but
yeah.
You watch like Scott's Tots, and it's the most painfully awkward 30 minutes of your entire life. But they made it work, and they at the end of it, you still think you come out and you say, "I love Michael Scott." Maybe even more after that, but yeah, it's the best show of all time in my opinion.
And a lot of times though, that show goes over certain because, like you said, it's awkward, and some people just can't understand that comedy.
Yeah.
And I almost go, do you live in are we living in the same world? Because I feel like there's awkward moments constantly through life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. A lot of real life situations and a lot of that office life they're living, some of it's crazy, but some of it's very real. Like we all work in offices. A lot of us work in offices and there's that guy from accounting. He's kind of weird. And there's that crazy boss. And, it's just, there's a lot of personalities that happen in that show. The only thing that I'll say that's tough about The Office, not The Office in general, but kind of like how it pertains to real life, is these people are like very intertwined, where they're all dating each other, they're all at each other's weddings, and they're all sad that the people are moving away and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, you have to have a life outside of the office that they don't have. They kind of all only have each other, which is an interesting dynamic, but it's kind of like that's the only part of it that makes you think that that's not how real life is.
It is and it isn't. Like I have people that I'm super close with that I've worked with, not in that small type of group.
Yeah.
And different weddings I've been invited to, or just people that I'm very close with. Like it's not too far off, I don't think.
Okay. That's fair.
But all right, next question. Now a lot of people are stuck at home right now, so they're looking for movies to watch.
Yeah.
If you had 5 movies that you could only watch for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Wow. That was tough. I would try to kind of pull from different genres. I pretty much only like comedy movies at this point. I've just gotten so stuck to that genre that I'll watch as many of those other movies as I can. But and this is not. Now I want to make sure that anyone who watches this knows this is not my 5 favorite movies of all time necessarily. This is I can only have 5. Here's what I watch.
You're getting a good mix.
You're getting a good mix, right? So I would say you got to go Goodfellas. So gotta have that mob movie. You gotta have that. There's just so much happening in that movie, and
it's my favorite movie. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a story that's just brilliantly told, and there's so many characters that like you root for these people, but they're terrible people. It's kind of like The Office, but with a little more intense. But
a little bit worse, yeah. They're so murderers.
People who you root for. It's the craziest thing. Next, I would go The Lion King. I think you gotta have the animated. I think it's again, I remember when Mufasa died. Everyone kind of it's like everyone from the 90s, born in the 80s knows where they were when Mufasa died. Because they were old enough to remember that. But man, it's such a great movie, and they remade it recently in sort of a live action format, and I watched it, and it was fine for what it was. But I don't know.
I'll be honest, I own both copies. I really love The Lion King a lot.
They really didn't change much.
Nothing.
Movie. So I'd have to have that, but I would have the original animated one.
Oh, here's the big difference. Can You Feel Love Tonight is played during the day. That was one issue I had. But
it's a big difference. Yeah, that'll ruin the movie for some people, but it was fine. I didn't think it was that bad. Third, I would have to go with a franchise. I would have to watch some Avengers.
Okay.
Gotta have your superhero movie. So I guess if I'm going for one, I'm going with I love Infinity War. I thought the movie was great. I love Iron Man. Iron Man's one of my favorite characters in not just comic books but in movies. I think I think they did a good job portraying that character, and I think they had just a lot of different people that you can kind of enjoy in that movie.
I
Um,
missed the boat on the Avengers too. I saw the first one, the second one. Then it got there were so many movies that I quit.
it's tough. It's tough. But if you watch it, it's sort of all, we're all worried about Thanos and sort of his endgame, and what he's going through. And you see that from the very first movie. So the last two movies that you can see were Infinity War and Endgame. And Endgame is where, Infinity War is where he's able to snap his fingers. And Endgame is where they try to erase that. So, those movies are older. I mean, at least a year old for Endgame, 2 years old for Infinity War. So I don't want to ruin them, but it's you sort of get your ending.
Yeah.
It's not the ending that I wanted, but I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought he did a great job. I love they did a good job with Iron Man. Good job with Captain America. Even Hulk. Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. He was pretty good. I thought he was better than what was it, Eric Banner?
Eric Bana, Edward Norton played the
Edward
role
Norton.
too.
That's what I meant.
Edward Norton's been nowhere to be. I guess he's put out a movie, but like that guy went from being like everybody loved him to where is he?
Yeah. So I heard they had plans for him, and he just didn't work out for them. So they moved on, and they got Mark Ruffalo, and I thought Mark Ruffalo did a good job. And it's kind of funny to see the Hulk as like a human being in Endgame. I know you haven't seen the movie, but sort of he played a Hulk dressed in normal clothes, and it was kind of just funny to see that. So I'd go with that. I would go with Tommy Boy.
Yes.
I love Chris Farley. I love Chris Farley. I love David Spade. I just one of those movies that's just so defining for me. So like from the comedy genre, it's so defining for me. It's one of the first movies I can remember seeing, even though I was probably 7 when that came out, but I remember it so vividly. We got it from Blockbuster and we watched it at home. And Chris Farley's just so funny in that. And David Spade's kind of playing that straight guy, where he's just sort of like no selling his jokes, so to speak. But man, the two of them together, we haven't seen anything like that in a long time. And I felt, even till this day, I just felt him dying just like hit me so hard. It was like the first time I was like, man, we're never getting a Chris Farley movie again. And he was actually, fun fact, he was supposed to play Shrek before Mike took it over. He was supposed to play Shrek, so they filmed a lot of the movie, or a lot of the sound bites at least, and he died before they could make it. But there are some clips on the internet now that you can find of him playing Shrek. He doesn't do a voice; he just does his regular voice. Mike Myers took it a different direction. But man, I can only think of how funny that whole movie series would have been if he was attached to it. So
yeah, I think the only thing I'd say about Farley, because he was so damn funny, and you had Black Sheep was also really funny.
Yeah,
but I also do feel like he would have put out some more great stuff. And this is just when people die young. But like if you look at Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell, they ain't producing that stuff anymore. So it's really tough to be really funny throughout your life. Like someone that's pulling it off and not in movies is like Dave Chappelle, but he took so much time off.
Yeah.
And people were just dying for that Dave Chappelle humor to come back.
Yeah.
And when it came back, he's offending people, and it's like, but everybody else find it funny,
it changed by the time he came back. Yeah. It's tough. It's kind of like I'll compare it to Biggie and Tupac. They both died at the head of their career, and everybody loves them. They didn't have time to make music that people didn't really love. But if you look at someone like Eminem or Jay-Z or anyone who made music that was like, this isn't the same guy. Something changed. It's not the same. They didn't have unfortunately, they didn't have an opportunity to get to that point. But some of those guys have just been around for so long. It's like, how long can you be the best at something before someone catches up to you?
I think comedy's tough because Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Stallone, they've all been able to like do movies that people still love into their golden years.
Mm-hmm.
But like comedy just seems like you run your course of being funny and people start to get sick of you.
Yeah, it's tough too because a lot of comedians are writing their own stuff.
Yeah,
especially for stand-up.
It's tougher for them.
Yeah, and people will always love explosions and all that crazy stuff that goes into an action movie.
Yeah,
but you won't always think everything's funny. Dave Chappelle's kind of learned that the hard way. some stuff that people would have laughed at 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they won't laugh at now.
Well, now they're offended.
Because the whole climate's changed in that sort of respect. So I thought he was really funny. Actually, I thought his last few stand-ups were hilarious. Yeah, he wasn't necessarily the same guy, but you don't want him to be the same guy. He's supposed to evolve, right? So
Evolve or perish.
Right. I thought he was great, and I thought he kind of made a living off of pissing people off, and he's going to continue to do that. So.
All right. So one more movie, I think it was.
One more movie. Right. I'm going back to the mob scene because I can't get enough of it. I gotta go Departed.
Oh.
Because
yeah.
So many good actors in that movie. It's one of those. Every time it comes on TV, I can't help but watch it all the way through. I have to.
Yeah.
You have so many. I mean, Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon. I mean, everyone is in that movie. Anyone who's in that movie.
It's stacked.
It's stacked, and it's such a well-told story, and you have this rat the entire time who you're just rooting against, and people are dying all the way through, and he finally gets his at the end. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time, because it did such a service to the mob movies that we all grew up and loved, like Casino and Goodfellas. But it sort of had a modern twist to it. And I obviously appreciated the Boston aspect of it as well.
So we finally got our Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was well overdue.
Yeah.
Now you're a big Pops collector, as we can see.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, what are your 3 favorite Pops that you have collected?
So here's the interesting thing. I have over 100 Pops.
I know.
Yeah, I have 105 Pops. They're pretty awesome. I'm a collector of a lot of things. So Pops are a big one for me. So you can tell I don't take them out of the box, which is frustrating because it's hard to store them.
I have a few. I do have a Pennywise right here on my desk.
I'll start off by saying that I saw Pops years before I started collecting them. I came across a lot of Pops that I'm seeing now that are worth hundreds of dollars that I balked at because I didn't like them at the time. I thought the eyes were weird. I just wasn't into it. So some regrets there. But so I'll give you top 3. I have a couple in the back that I love, like I have a couple Hulk Hogan's. I have a Bret Hart. Love those. But what I got for you here. So here's one of my favorite ones. This is.
Oh wow.
The Notorious B.I.G.
Yep.
So this is a great one. So I got this a few years back. There's a ton of Biggie ones now. You can see there's a couple there on the back. So there was a couple out that are out now that have been out for a while that they're one of the ones I saw and I didn't get that are worth hundreds of dollars now. So when I saw this one, I had to get it. So I actually pre-ordered this one. So I love that one. It's got the crown on. It's got the cane. It's like so Biggie to me. I'll go with another one. When I first started collecting, I didn't keep them in the box, so I started taking them out. This character is BoJack Horseman. For anyone who's unfamiliar, this is a show on Netflix.
I've seen the commercials. I haven't seen the show.
Yeah, so it is a great show. It's animated, but it's very well written. Voice cast, all stars. Everyone's good in that show. This Pop is worth $75, and it's just a cheap piece of plastic they made for $2. So I wish they didn't take it out of the box, but here we are. But I love that one. I kind of wanted to pull ones that weren't obvious, like my Hulk Hogan or my Bret Hart. So those are 2 of my favorites. Now, sort of the star of my collection, we've already sort of talked about this. So I have Prison Mike.
Oh wow.
From The Office.
Yeah.
So you can see he's dressed in everything he was in for the show. You can kind of see they got a ton of characters that you can choose from. They got a ton more that made sense. This is as you can see, a special edition with that sticker. But this is like I said, this is one of my favorite scenes in The Office, and I laugh every time I see it. When they ask him what the worst part of prison was, and he says the Dementors.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
I laugh every single time. And when he goes to Ryan, he tells him he'd be the belle of the ball. I lose it every single time. And Steve Carell as Michael Scott is still my favorite character of all time. So when that Pop came out, I had to get it. And for the longest time, I couldn't find it. And then for my birthday last year, Alicia was able to track it down for a decent price. So I have probably over 100 pops on my wish list right now. Biggest one I'm trying to get is Hulk Hogan in the NWO gear.
Is that newer?
It's not. So it came out in 2015. They made WWE 2K15, the video game. And if you bought the value pack, essentially, you got this little pop character with Hulk Hogan. They weren't super popular at the time. But you got like some signed gear from him, the pop character in the game. It sold for like $150 at the time. And I was like, $150 for a video game and an action figure? Like, I don't want it. Can't find it anywhere. I regret it. I wish I got it. I did find it out of the box on eBay not that long ago for $40, but it was pretty beat up. And I probably could have restored it. I probably should have got it. I didn't. That's one of my biggest regrets because I'm always on eBay trying to buy those. And I have a ton of NWO Hulk Hogan. Like I'm watching them on eBay. So one day they'll come to a price that I'll actually pay for. But I think maybe I'll just pay $200 for it. I don't care at this point.
Fair enough. Yeah, I have a few pops from you too that are sitting on my desk that I can't go to at work right now.
Those are good.
But yeah, pops are fun.
Yeah.
You know. That brings us to sports.
Yeah.
Are you missing them?
Yes. This sucks.
I do appreciate wearing the Defenders gear.
Yeah.
That was a good time. I love the XFL. I hope they come back. I hope Hogan will have us back to DC once this is, and we could have the biggest party ever before that game. You know, thoughts on the NBA maybe going to one. Now this is just talk, but one location, have a few regular season games, then do the playoffs in one location. Do you think that's even do you think that's even possible?
I don't. So I think you have to do. You just can't have that many people. There's more people on one team than you can have in one place at a time right now. So I think listen, would I love the NBA season to keep going? Do I think the Celtics had a good chance this year? I really do. Do I think it's smart? I don't. I think, you don't want to expose people to this thing. I think there's things that are bigger than sports. So if they do that, that's fine. I think it's kind of doing a disservice to the league. I think anyone who wins that championship, they're going to say, oh, that's the championship that the coronavirus happened. So is it even worth it? I don't know. But I doubt it happens. But as much as I'm dying to see sports, I think taking care of human lives is probably what's most important. And the NBA sort of set this thing on fire when Rudy Gobert was the one who tested positive, and he was touching everything. And it's that's the viral video now. But and he was positive. It was like, man, that's what started this whole thing. That's when we started to take it seriously. So the NBA whether they like it or not. So for them to come back to kind of force it, I don't think that's the right call.
If they can keep everybody healthy, which I don't know if you can, I would love it because I love some sports back. And if you want to call it Tayton or whatever, I don't really care because we want it. We want some sports back. We do.
We do. Yeah. I mean, I miss baseball. Baseball today was actually supposed to be the Red Sox home opener.
Yeah.
We were going to get tickets to. So we should have been at a baseball game today, and we weren't. We were stuck in our houses. So, I mean, I'm sick of not having sports. That's for sure. I miss them, but I think we've gone this far. It's like, why rush it? So if they can do it and they can do it safely, I'm all for it. But if they can't, then I don't know if the risk is worth the reward.
Yeah, I doubt it happens, but if it did, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
How you feeling about Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay?
Sucks. I thought he was going to be a Patriot forever. I really did. I thought he was one of those guys who just, he's going to go into the Hall as a Patriot, obviously, but I thought he was one of those guys who's just going to be like a Kobe or a Derek Jeter, where they just spent their whole career with one team and everybody loves them and all that good stuff.
Those guys retired. They retired, I believe, younger than Brady is going to be now, just to say.
He's still trying to prove something.
Yeah.
But I love Tom Brady, and I'll always appreciate what he did for Patriots, for New England, not just on the football field, but off the football field. The Best Buddies program, all the great stuff he did in the community. And he lived here for a long time. He really made it his home. So It's hard for me to ever cheer against Tom Brady. So obviously the Patriots are my team, but I'm wishing Tampa Bay the best. I think they have a good team together. I think Tom Brady can take them a long way. I think he might be the missing piece to that puzzle. So if the Patriots can't win it, I'm all Tampa Bay. I'm getting a Brady jersey as soon as I can.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna get it because I love jerseys, and I wouldn't mind any other jersey that Brady wears, unless he went to the Jets. But yeah, it's gonna be weird. I
It's
think
weird.
yeah.
I don't hold any ill will towards him because it came out a couple of years ago that Gronkowski wasn't super happy with Belichick and how he was treating them. So um, Tom Brady put up with. I mean, he could have got the Peyton Manning treatment or any star quarterback he wanted from his team that he didn't get because Bill Belichick was Bill Belichick. So maybe he wants that for himself. I don't know. Maybe he wants to prove he's better without Bill Belichick or can win without Bill Belichick. I really don't know. Um, but whatever decision he made, um, he probably wrestled with it. He probably took his time with it. He probably talked to all his family and everyone. And at the end of the day, I like to think he made the right decision for all those people. So I got nothing against him, and I'll be cheering for him.
No, I don't either. Now, if he was a lot younger man, it'd be different. But he is going to be 43 years old in the NFL.
Yeah, if I thought he was going to play there for 10 years, and I'd be more upset. But
He's already the oldest quarterback to start every regular season game for a team.
yeah,
So my thoughts on it are good luck. God bless. Thank you for everything you did here. I don't know. Like,
it's.
that's how I just kind of look at it.
I mean, we've seen Curtis Martin go to the Jets. Not necessarily his fault, but we've seen it. We've
But
seen
much younger.
much younger. We've seen Johnny Damon go to the Yankees. We've seen Ellsbury go to the Yankees. We've seen a lot of people go to. We've seen Ray Allen go to the Heat, which I know you feel strongly about. I just thought I could start jersey. So we've seen some stuff in New England. It's not the first time someone we loved went to a team,
Yeah.
went somewhere else. Yeah, but I got nothing against Tampa Bay. There's no reason to.
Nope.
And he, like you said, he's in the twilight of his career. So if he wants to go try to win somewhere else, then more power to him. I would have preferred he stayed, and I was kind of surprised he didn't. But I'm not going to hold it again.
I'll say this: like, if it came down to the Patriots versus Tampa Bay, I'm going Patriots.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But if we're not there, then I hope he does. And it's just crazy, 43 to keep pushing it. So
Yeah.
Good luck, Tom Brady. We do love you. I want to get into a few more things real quick because I had this on here. Your favorite Celtics moment, but it can't be the 08 championship.
Okay. So I have two, and I'll go over them super quick. One that I wasn't there for was the playoffs. I forget, it might have been like game 6 or something, but when Isaiah Thomas's sister died, and he played in the game. I think he put up points that game. Just like I love that guy, and it's hard to say not to trade him for Kyrie Irving because Kyrie Irving's an elite player, but I think
I still would have kept him. I don't like Kyrie Irving.
And I would have liked to bring Isaiah back. He's available now, and the Celtics haven't made a move. But God, what a game that was, and just the fact that he felt the need to play not just for us but for his sister, just like one of those sports moments I'll never forget. Second, and you were there for this, Taco Fall's first game.
Yeah.
And first time he was brought into the court, professional game.
And Brad
just like, come on, if you want him in, you got to make more noise. That place went crazy. And I've been in the Garden for playoff basketball games before, and people do go nuts. But that was the loudest I've ever heard it in the Garden. For this guy, 7-foot guy, 7+ foot guy to come onto the court. And God, he must have missed his first 10 shots, but when he finally made it, the place went wild. I mean, we were high-fiving people behind us, in front of us. Everyone's just so excited. So it was just one of those moments where it's like, man, everyone's in this together. This is crazy. Like, everyone feels the same way right now. So, yeah, that was one of my favorites to be there for.
Well, hopefully everything, eventually go back to normal. And I told, you were there too, but I told Hogan, I said, let's make it an annual thing. Let's go to the Celtics once a year. We get the same group of people. And I hope by December, it's more than willing that we can go back to just going to the, I always say the Fleet Center, but it's not that anymore, the Garden, and enjoy a Celtics game. So
because obviously my office is closed right now, but I work right across from the garden, so I see it every day. I took the team to North Station, so um, I plan on going to a lot of games this year, and I haven't been able to just in the last few months. So.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Overall, we'll go into politics now. I've been trying to focus on the show not to get too divisive because I am not a big fan of Donald Trump, and I don't agree with a lot of things that he has been doing in his press conferences at all, because I think there's a lot of propaganda going on that we just don't need. But the problem is if I start bashing him, his supporters, they won't hear it. They can't hear it. It's almost like, I hate to say it, but it's almost like a cult of him. It doesn't matter what he does. They will always follow him. And you know what? They're Americans too, so we don't want to sit here and bash them. How do you feel about the way the government has handled the crisis?
I feel like we were slow. We were too slow to act on it. I feel like we should have been probably quarantining earlier. We should have been planning for masks earlier. We should have been reaching out about getting proper testing earlier. I won't give away any locations, but there was a specific place that they were going to start testing, and they had 20 tests to use for the next few months, and it was like that's not enough. So for a lot of people, you're just not being tested because they don't want to waste. So I'll say waste the test on you if they can't prove that you are a strong candidate for it. So I don't know what they could have done better. It's tough to say. I think we probably could have acted faster. We could accept tests from other countries. There's a lot of things we could have done better, but I wasn't necessarily impressed with it. And even now, we're talking about giving $1,200 a person if you qualify. Which I don't know. Does that matter? I don't necessarily need $1,200 right now. I would love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against money, but there's other places that money could go that would benefit them more. So for me, it's tough to say necessarily that they've done a good job or a bad job. I just think we didn't take it seriously enough sooner. We're probably going to pay for it a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think now we have the highest death toll of all the countries, which is kind of sucks. But
which sucks. But are other countries being honest?
We don't know. We don't know. At this point, I will say I don't care. I don't care about the division anymore. Everybody come together, and we do need our president to just lead. That's it. Don't worry. He's worried about re-election. Your supporters, Donald, aren't going anywhere. Yeah. They'll still vote for you. So don't just lead. Just lead the country. That's it.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy that he said he was bragging, in the last week or so about the ratings that he gets.
Yeah,
and I'm like, the whole country is at a standstill. People are concerned about their jobs. They're concerned about their health. They're concerned about their lives. They're tuning into the president for some guidance. And he's like, "What's tuned in?" They tuned in because they need guidance on what's happening. It's it's not about ratings. It's not your popularity that got you those ratings. It's the situation that we're in. I just thought that was a really dark way to take it from him. And I think, unfortunately, this has been an opportunity for him to kind of bring the country together, and he hasn't done that. And I don't think he has any chance to do that. I don't know if there's a candidate on the other side that can do better. I mean, me, I'm not left or right leaning whatsoever. I think they're all kind of have their own agendas, but man, I think it's a real opportunity squandered to get the country together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled about either prospects, but I'm down for the one whoever can lead the country. Yeah. When we had 9/11, George Bush was able to unite everybody.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are critical of things he made, decisions he made later. But at the time of 9/11, he brought the country together. And that's all I want out of Donald Trump right now. That's it. Just bring everybody together.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he's capable of doing that.
Yeah, and it's a tough call because it's George Bush brought the country together, but what did he do with it? Did he use it to invade another country? Did he use that sort of nationalism to his
That's true.
advantage? Maybe, maybe. So I don't know, but I think to your point, it's what we needed at the time, and it's what we need now, and we're not getting it.
Yeah.
George Bush answered that call to some degree, and Donald Trump's not doing that at all.
I don't know who the guy was on Monday, some pillow guy or something. And, I don't know why he's even up there. I don't know who he is. He starts going into God decided that Trump was going to be president and all this other stuff. And I go, this is the last thing we need right now. All I want is someone to get up there and say, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. And that's it.
Yeah.
I do believe that, Mike Pence could do that. Like, I don't agree with Mike Pence on everything, but I think he could be a unifier.
Yeah. To do it. Everyone's big thing on Donald Trump is like, we need a businessman in the White House. We need someone to turn the economy around. And to some degree, he did that. I mean, my life has gotten better. That's not necessarily a reflection of him. But did he help the economy? Probably, yeah, a little bit. So the question is when something like this happens and you have a businessman and not a leader, this is kind of what you end up with. And it's not something that we could have predicted, but he's not qualified to be in the situation. We had a whole response team that he disbanded. Bill Gates actually predicted this years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
So, I mean, was he good for the economy? Was he disbanded to put more money in our pockets? Sure. Were they things that we needed and now we're paying for not having now? I think so. So it's a tough call. To your point, I don't want to put down anyone who supports them or anything like that. And I don't necessarily have a political side, but we're watching Americans die right now, and it seems like there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, I think our politics need to be now what we're learning. They have to be the best and the brightest. Mm-hmm. And that's not even just a knock on Trump. That's a knock on a lot of them. Yeah. We don't have the best and the brightest people there. I don't know how you get the Bill Gates of the world to run for office. You know what I mean? I don't know how you get them to do that.
They're too smart to be
yeah, so it is what it is. I guess the next thing, Anthony Fauci, though, has been a voice of reason that I think we've all grown to kind of love him because he's on. Mike, you still there?
Hey, I think I lost you for a second. Say it again.
I think we're frozen. Oh, there we are.
There we are. And we're back.
And we're back. Anthony Fauci. Yeah. He's kind of been the reason right now. But now there's been threats on his life. The other thing, though, is the National Bobblehead Society or Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, make a bobblehead of him and donate the money towards this. What do you think, Anthony Fauci? I really like the guy. I think he's telling us the truth.
Yeah, I think he has no reason to be untruthful. I think his whole stance is that from a position of science, right? So, yeah, I think that's kind of weird when anyone who sort of says something against the president kind of gets put in this position. It's tough. I would buy a bobblehead, that's for sure, especially because it's going to the right cause. But that's not unique to our country. A couple of scientists in China have disappeared after coming out and talking about the virus. So something's up there. But I think what he owes is the American people, not one person. So I think he keep speaking his truth and keep telling us what we need to know. And when the bobblehead is available, I will get it.
Yeah. No, I think he's been the voice of reason through this because there's so much bullshit, and he's just giving people the honest answers that he knows, which I appreciate. So, it kind of almost the guy's an American hero. 79. He looks a lot better than that. But that brings us to the Let Freedom Ring fan questions.
Go.
First question from my friend Chris Lind, who I played rugby with, who likes to troll quite a bit. He asks, has your brother Dan always been such a bozo?
Define bozo. No, I don't think so. Dan's always been a guy who likes the spotlight. So Dan loves the attention, loves the spotlight, and hosting a show is where he needs to be. So,
as Tony Sopranos would say, I am whose I am. Josh Patton wants to know, do you miss him?
Josh is a good guy.
He's a good guy. I like Josh.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I met Josh in 2014 when I started at SNHU. So he's a big Tampa Bay fan. So I told him, when Tommy Brady wins them a Super Bowl, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I miss Josh. I miss a lot of the guys this year. There's a good group there. They've really put together a good team in that entire building. So yeah, and I think he recently got promoted too. So congrats, Josh. I think I saw that. Yeah. I think I said congrats on LinkedIn. I didn't, I meant to. So congratulations.
And he's a Tampa Bay Vipers fan. Loves the Vipers.
He's a Vipers fan. Oh no, I didn't know that.
I gotta give him dap. So he is very loyal to Tampa Bay. So he doesn't forget where he came from. Yeah. All right, it brings me to my favorite segment of the show: blank versus blank. I'm going to give you 2 words or people or whatever it is, and you have to pick one. First one, you collect pops. You also collect action figures. Wrestling figures, I'm sorry. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
Pops or figures?
Wow, that's a tough question. Man, I think I'm more into pops, honestly. I like them both, obviously. But, I have the Funko app. So I kind of pay attention to what's new and what's trending. And, there's a couple pops that I have my eye on, like the Hulk Hogan one. And I don't think I have anything like that in action figures. So I guess if I had to pick one, which I hope it never comes to that, I would take pops.
Okay. WrestleMania 17 or WrestleMania 19?
Oh, that's another good one. WrestleMania 19. I'll go with that. Just because that one match, Austin and Rock, right? So that was a big one, and that was the one where that was the end of the Austin era. We saw it begin at WrestleMania 14 in Boston, mind you. So we saw it begin there, and man, a few short years it was over. So that was a tough pill to swallow, but I think The Rock was the right guy to do it. I think Austin did the right thing, kind of going up, laying at the lights, the 30-second tan, as John Cena would say. So just like moments like that so sometimes WrestleMania is made by a moment or two. For 18, it was Rock versus Hogan. Maybe there wasn't a lot of great stuff on the card besides that, but it was just an amazing match. And I think The Rock always delivered back then. So I would have to go with 19.
Okay. Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens?
Pedro. I'm a Pedro guy, man. I love Roger Clemens. He's a great guy, but Pedro's what? 5'8", 165 pounds, soaking wet. I don't even know, but the guy just had heart, and he's such a great power pitcher for a guy his size, and he's so deceptive because of that. Yeah. We saw him going to the Hall of Fame twice.
We were there for that. Yeah, we were there for that.
Once in Montreal.
It's true.
Hall of Fame. So we've seen him going to 2 Hall of Fames. Yeah, just an amazing pitcher with amazing stuff. 2003 was such a heartbreaking year because you think if they don't leave Pedro in, they win. But how do you not leave in your multi-time Cy Young guy and trust him to get the job done? Cost Grady Little a lot of money. But yeah, Pedro gave us so many moments, and 2004 is unforgettable. And he was just a great pitcher, great guy, great player. A couple of years ago, he was under a mango tree. I don't know if you remember that speech.
Yeah, just under. Yeah, he's. I love.
Yeah, so he's a funny guy, and he just brought a lot of energy. And
I love me some Pedro Martinez. I'll tell you that.
And Pedro Martinez was pitching against the Twins one day, and their first baseman hit a moonshot off of him. And Pedro Martinez kind of took a note and said, that's a guy I got to watch. And when he comes available, I need to talk to the Red Sox. So that happens, and he goes to the Red Sox and say, hey, they got this guy. His name is David Ortiz. plays for the Twins. They're not re-signing him. I couldn't find a place to pitch to him. We got to come get him. We got to bring him here. So he was a big part of why David Ortiz ended up with the Red Sox. So he gave us a lot more than he did just on the mound. I think he was a good scout too for the Red Sox. So yeah, there you go.
I give them both a statue outside of Fenway. That's just me.
I agree.
Tony Soprano or Michael Corleone?
Tony. I love Michael.
Tony all day.
Yeah, I love Michael. He's a great character, and I can watch The Godfather 1,000 times and never get sick of it. He's a great character, and I think he kind of set the tone for a lot of the mob movies that happened after that. But man, Tony was such a great character and great actor, R.I.P. But The Sopranos is just The Godfather it's a few movies. They're long, they're great, but I mean, The Sopranos stuck with you for years, where you're just following this guy throughout his entire journey, and then I still don't love the ending. I kind of, the more I read about it, the more I get it. How they kind of,
I hated it at the time.
How they kind of focused on his death, because you wanted more information, you want to know more. Well, the more it ages, the more you kind of just accept what happened. And Members Only is the name of the episode. And the guy who walks in Members Only jacket, he killed Tony. And you can piece that together as you watch it. But at the time, we're kind of just like waiting for, I remember looking at the time being like, this show is almost over. What are you going to give me? And that's sort of what they end up with, Fade to Black. So I think it pissed a lot of people off at the time, me included. But it's aged better over time. And Tony is just this iconic character who no one will ever replicate how good he was.
Yeah, I love James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano. For a serious actor of anything, is my favorite character by far.
Yeah.
This is probably an easy one for you. The original Star Wars trilogy or the new one that we just seen with the Disney version?
The original.
Yeah.
I remember seeing New Hope and just absolutely loving it as a kid. Came out in the 70s. Obviously, I wasn't around for that, but when I remember seeing it, they had remade it. I don't think it's even that much better than it was in the 70s, but they had remade it, kind of reanimated it a little bit. It's just a great movie. And then, Empire Strikes Back is still one of the greatest movies of all time. I guess when you had asked me like top 5 back then, I probably should have added that in somewhere because I just love that movie. It just sets the whole tone for Return of the Jedi. And Jedi was great too in its own right, but not as good as
I love Jedi.
I do
love Jedi.
I don't think it gets enough love, but I don't like it as much as the first two, but I think that it was a good wrap up to the series. What we thought was a wrap up to the series at the time. So I'd go with the first one. So I think the storytelling is better. I think they tried to kind of force in humor with the new Disney stuff. I think they had to make it for kids, whereas the Star Wars fan base was older at the time because we grew up with it. So I think they had to pivot a little bit, but they did a great job with the Disney movies. Don't get me wrong. I really like them. I find tons of plot holes in them if I wanted to be annoying, but they are good movies, but they just don't. I don't think they hold up.
Big time. I will say this: Kylo Ren's my favorite character of all the series.
Oh, he's great. I don't want to spoil it because it's still kind
of. I love Kylo Ren.
I didn't love his story ending.
Me neither.
I didn't love it. I thought their whole dynamic was kind of weird, just because I guess you expect that sort of Luke and Leia bond, and that's not really the case. I didn't love it. So great character, great actor too. I can't think of his name, but Adam Driver maybe. But he's
Adam Driver, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He did a good job with Kylo Ren. I hope he doesn't get typecasted as Kylo Ren because I want to see more from him.
No, he's already gotten other things. He was a star before that. All right, 2 states you've been to that are nice weather. California or Florida?
Good question. I thought there was more to do in California. I really like California. I thought the 6-hour flight, I could go anywhere for 6 hours. You can get to England, you can get to Europe for 6 hours in 6 hours. So it's kind of a long flight to be stuck in the United States. Not that there's anything wrong with being stuck in the United States, just you kind of know it. So yeah, I went to San Diego. I thought La Jolla was nice. I thought the whole area is beautiful. I kind of had an extended stay in California. We won't get into it.
I know. Yeah.
I loved it before. It's kind of funny because we were there and we were out one day and it started raining, and you would have thought it was like a blizzard here, the way people ran inside. And Alicia and I were kind of like, this isn't bad at all. We kind of stuck outside and kind of stuck through it, and it was over, and everyone came back outside. But they're not used to rain there, and they were in the drought at the time too. So they kind of needed the rain, but they also were like afraid of it. But yeah, I loved California. I wanted an opportunity to go back. Florida, I love Florida too. I mean, I've been a couple places, Tampa and Fort Myers, and a couple other places. But beautiful beaches. They're really nice. It's warm there. It's a little muggier there than it is in California, which I don't love. So a little buggier too. I mean, Florida's great, but I think I prefer California. I think it's more my speed.
Well, if you ever plan another trip there, I have not been to California. Let me know. I would
Oh,
love to once all this blows over.
it's worth it. Yeah, I actually at the time I knew a guy who worked at the San Diego Zoo. I don't think he works there anymore, but we knew him, so we got to go into the tortoise cage, and they had these 150-year-old giant tortoises that were, a couple tons. They were huge. They kind of look like old men. They're kind of funny. Give a leaf to them, they take it very slowly, and I don't know, they're very cute animals. But we kind of got a unique experience. And people were like, "How did you get in there? Did you pay for it?" And I was like, "No, I kind of knew a person." So, but I would recommend that zoo because not only is it fun to see all the animals, but it's actually they save a lot of wildlife and rehabilitate them and introduce them back into the wild too. So they're doing it the right way. Not like Joe Exotic.
I was gonna say, was anybody's last name Exotic, but
Not that I thought.
you clarified. um, Pierce or Garnett?
I'm a Pierce guy. I'm a Pierce guy. He's the truth. I love Garnett, and I love what he did for this team. And I don't think we bring home that championship without a Garnett. And I think what I love about KG is he not only came here, but he became a Celtic. He spent a lot of time with the Timberwolves, but I think he's a Celtic. They're
He's
retiring his
getting his
number.
number retired.
Yeah, so he really took on Boston. He didn't just it wasn't just a team that he got traded to win a championship. He became Boston guy. So I love Garnett, love what he did for the team. But I grew up a Paul Pierce guy. I used to wear a wristband that just said the truth, and had his number that I wore to school every single day. And I don't even know why I wore it. It didn't really make a lot of sense, but I think I do. I'm overdue for a Paul Pierce jersey. I think they have a couple.
Oh yeah.
They're even making the new ones as Pierce, so I might get one. But
I'm gonna agree with you on Pierce too. I love Garnett, but Pierce was the only guy still there from that 2002 team that I loved. It's
yeah,
because I was an Antoine Walker guy, but obviously Antoine wasn't there. Pierce still was. I had a Truth shirt that I bought from like MVP Sports when that was still a thing.
I remember these
So,
ones. It's kind of funny. The number 34 is iconic in Boston. A lot of greats have worn it. So in a short amount of time too. So
yeah, him and Ortiz, and who else won it?
that's probably it. But that's enough.
Baseball player. Christmas or 4th of July?
Man, I don't know. I love Christmas. I really do. I always loved it when we were kids. I thought we always had fun with the six of us. And we always made something of it. But as we got older and we started doing less, and Tim had to go somewhere, Bobby had to go somewhere, you had to go somewhere. I kind of appreciate the 4th of July more just because it was more like all of us could get together, have a couple of drinks, and have fun. But as I've gotten even older, Alicia's family takes Christmas very seriously. They throw a huge party for all her relatives. She's big. We get the Christmas tree early here. She's big on gifts and decorating and all that cool stuff. So I've kind of like fell back in love with Christmas in that respect, where we go all out, which I was used to just not doing when I was by myself. So or even living with Bobby. Me and Bobby didn't even decorate either. But I think I'd go Christmas just because we kind of get the best of both worlds. I still get to meet up with all you guys and have drinks and have fun. But I also get to spend the time with Alicia and her family too.
All right, fair enough. I love 4th of July. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Great. Oh, it's great holiday.
Now here's the toughest question I'm going to ask you.
Yep.
You have a dog named Ellie, but you also have a hedgehog named Piper.
Ew.
Piper or Ellie?
Oh man, that's a Sophie's choice. I don't know. Choosing between my kids. That's tough, man. I love them both. I really do. Piper, I take her out every night and she scurries around the floor, and she's getting older. She's 8 now. And we were told
And that's old for a hedgehog, right?
that's very old. Yeah, we were told between like 3 and 5, 4 to 6 was her best case scenario. When I first got her, I took her to the vet, and I've taken her a couple times since. But the first time, I said this is what we expect hedgehogs to live for, and she's maybe 3 or 4 right now. So we thought we'd have her for like a year, and here we are 4 years later, and she's still hanging out. She's still having a good time. She's still nimble. She's always scurrying around, and she still eats all her food and drinks all her water. We haven't changes in appetite or anything like that. Ellie is my baby girl. She sleeps next to me every night. She follows me around everywhere. She's sort of my emotional support dog. Anytime she sees me getting aggravated or stuff, whether it's work or watching a baseball game, whatever it might be, she'll come up and she'll like lift my arm, make sure she gets under there. Very cuddly. So I mean, she's a sweetheart. I mean, she's sorry, say it again. Yeah.
Oh, we're at temporary delay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Can you? Yep.
I can. Yeah, I can hear you.
We're picking Ellie.
It's tough to pick one. I guess Ellie's more of the cuddly one. She's the one in the bed every night, and she always cuddles up to me. So I guess if I had to pick, I would go with Ellie. But the two of them, I love them so much, and I'm really glad we rescued Piper and we adopted Ellie. So thankful for both of them. But Ellie's really the one who's going to follow me around everywhere and be around for a long time. So don't tell Piper that. But yeah, I guess if I had to choose, I'd go with Ellie.
All right. Well, no, good answer, Mike. I appreciate you coming on. Our internet has kind of been a little slow at certain times. Bear with us. Sometimes that happens. We're probably further apart than any other guests I've had in the Skype era.
Yeah.
But hopefully, once this all blows over, Mike, I'll have you back in the studio with producer Justin, and we'll go from there. But no, I appreciate it. I love you, brother. And everybody, stay safe. Keep your family safe. But continue to let freedom you next time.